He's the best in our game at this time, and it's a 1 in 20 year player, 1 in 40 year player. Joey may be once in a lifetime player.
That is beautiful! That is entertainment!
He'll be remembered as a bloke that just raised the bar. That's the simple way of putting it. He raised the bar from, let's say, if I'm right, from Raper to Lewis to Johns.
And there it is again! Pinpoint accuracy!
It is unfair to make comparisons with players from past eras. It's unfair on them because they weren't as good as him. I mean, I think in time all eras will be compared to Andrew Johns, and I still think there's a fair bit yet to be written about him.
You are the Messiah!
I've always said in life that there'll be no perfect player, but I think this guy's so very close to it at the present moment, and he's still got years to go.
Joey's over again!
To pick out individual things I find difficult. I just look at the overall package and look at the impact that he has had, the influence over 80 minutes, and no one does it better.
In the most demanding of football's body contact codes, he's simply the best. The two-time winner of the Golden Boot as the best player in the world, twice the winner of Australia's highest individual award, a one-man assault force in the game's record books, captain of club, state and country. History will claim Andrew Joey Johns among the greatest of all.
I sort of get embarrassed when people say it. I don't know what my reaction should be, whether to thank them. I understand now the responsibility that goes with my position in the game, and I suppose if an incident did happen and I stuffed up somehow, that it would hurt the game, deeply. And I know a lot of kids look up to me, so there's a responsibility there. I have to set an example, I suppose, how to behave on and away from the game also. But those sort of raps, they do put extra pressure on you, but it's the raps I receive off my teammates, the ones that mean the most, when your peers sort of, wrap you up, and they're the ones that count.
The starting point of his football journey could not have been more ideal. Born and raised in the rugby league heartland of the Hunter Valley coalfields, Andrew and elder brother Matthew were the sons of a Cessnock miner, footballer and coach.
At Cessnock, there isn't a lot to do. Like, as a young kid growing up, there isn't a mile of things to do. Back then, of course, you didn't have Nintendos, Sony PlayStations, things like that. So you're sort of restricted to certain things you could do. And I mean, like any kids growing up, sport was a huge thing. You get the backyard with a cricket bat or a soccer ball, or a rugby league ball. And Cessnock was an area, being a coal mining town up that way. Rugby league was always a really big thing, and it was a good way up there to get, I would say, you probably to be someone around town up at Cessnock, to be the first grade footballer. And so you pick up on those sort of things, and it becomes a big part of your life, something you aim for.
The Cessnock backyard became a mini field of dreams as the brothers acted out their football fantasies with games of skill and ambition. Their brotherly competitiveness translated to on-field success as their junior careers took flight. As a rugby league education, it was a preschool for champions.
We lived in the central part of the town, and never had a lot of people around us, like younger people, so they had to play with each other. And that's probably what they did. They made up all these little games.
You've got to learn the basics, and me and Matthew playing in the backyard, whether we knew it or not, we were just, probably learning all the basics. We grew up around football. Our father coached football, so we're always at training and that, watching other players.
There's only so many games you can play one-on-one in the backyard, so you start to invent different little games, and We used to invent kicking games and games where we inventing an in goal, and we'd soap a leather ball, we'd soap right up, and at the time, you know, like, it was just good fun. But you know, to catch a soapy ball, if you can handle a soapy ball, you can handle, you know, most things.
They used to do different things with different balls. They might play a league with a tennis ball or a golf ball. Passing competitions against holes in the garage wall. They punched a hole in the wall and drew the circle, put the numbers on it. And that was there for years, wasn't it? Wasn't allowed to fix it.
We had 2 palm trees that they used to kick through.
And they'd play cricket with a cricket stump and a golf ball. You know, and one would bowl flat out and the other bloke would bat, and they'd swap around, and always competitive.
You can't fabricate a real killer instinct, and he always had that. Like, he was always a real bad sport. I remember one year I got a cricket bat for Christmas, and I thought it was great, and we went down the backyard and we had the big 18-gallon drum as the wicket, and I got him out first ball as usual, you know, all the rest of it. And he, you know, as usual, he didn't like to take it. So on the Christmas day, this new bat, he took to it on this 18-gallon drum.
I was sitting across the road with a couple of blokes having a beer. The next minute, Andrews took it out on the wicket, so he's belted the hell out of this cricket bat, completely wrecked it. And I just gradually walked across the road, grabbed the bat off him and whacked him across the arse with it. And I think it was about the only time he ever got a whack as he's grown up. But that was the competitive coming out of him, you know. He's just, and especially if he struggled to bowl his first ball.
He was never out because you couldn't get out first ball. That were the rules, but they cheated and said he had to go out.
He didn't like getting beaten, so a lot of the times I actually used to let him win to keep peace in the family.
Everything I do, I tend to want to win or do to the best of my ability. I've been probably accused of that in the past, of being a bad sport, throwing my mouth guard and I suppose throwing sort of tantrums. But yeah, Matthew tells a few stories about me chasing around the yard with a pail and fence. That's a load of bullshit, I think. I wouldn't have done that, but we had a few rows. But the best thing about that, Matthew growing up was very small, so if we'd had an argument, I'd always get on top of him.
They would have been rugged games because Matthew's fairly competitive too, so I should imagine they would have been to the death. You know, they would have played till they dropped, so that's the spirit of both boys.
I remember there was a swimming carnival at Cessnock, at the Cessnock Baths, and he entered himself into every event, and of course he made like the semi-finals and the finals and a lot of those, and he ended up by the end of the day swimming an exorbitant amount of events, you know, way too much, but he just kept on getting on the blocks and going ahead and trying to win them. Now that night we had a sleepover with a few of our mates, and I still remember to this day, about 1 o'clock in the morning, Andrew waking up in agony, screaming and yelling. Mum and Dad didn't know what was the matter with him. They took him to the hospital. The hospital done a lot of tests on him, and it came back that he had an exorbitant amount of lactic acid build-up.
First off, the doctors thought I had polio, so Mum and Dad were pretty rattled by it, but yeah, they when Mum told the doctors what I'd been up to that day, they couldn't believe it.
Now they said it was nearly impossible, the amount of lactic, not meaning that it wasn't possible to produce that much, that it was nearly impossible for a kid his age to push himself that hard to produce that much in his legs to give him the kind of pain he had. So I think that says a lot, you know, of what sort of sits inside him.
Back to Johns. Again, he makes another 10 yards as usual. He's still going. Gets it out this tighter corner. Garnett's got it. On to Johns, he's gone back the other way. And he's beat 3-4 of them to finally bring him down. Now it goes to Hopkins again. Another great tackle by Andrew Johns. Oh, he come through well. He got rid of it well. Under Johns. He's done it again.
Worthing good run.
Yeah. He's done it again, yeah. They're making it look very simple now, aren't they?
Early on you could see that they were a little bit special, and I'd had quite a relationship with the Newcastle area, so the reports coming out of there were always very strong about these 2 young players coming through, both Matthew and Andrew, and they weren't far from the mark, and you know, they obviously made an impact immediately coming into the competition, so it wasn't hard to see.
When I first saw him, it was he was playing Harold Matthews for the Newcastle Knights, and I was coaching the SG Ball at Newcastle, and the SG Ball was under 17s and the Harold Matthews was under 15s, so I toddled along to have a look at him in playing the under 15s, and I remember thinking, because I'd heard a bit about him, see what a good player he was, and thought, geez, a little fellow, isn't he? He's only short of the ground, but he was certainly dominant even at that age in the 15s. He was very dominant and tremendous competitive spirit even at 15.
Here's a kid who just didn't kick the ball in the park. He wanted to know why it bounced a certain way and what he could do to influence that. And he didn't just look at what he could do, he looked what others could do and try to duplicate it and do it better. So I would imagine as a young fellow growing up, there were players like your Peter Sterlings and your Steve Mortimers and then your Ricky Stewarts that would have had an influence on the way that he thought about himself as a footballer. And not only to replicate the things that he probably saw them do, but to do it better, to go to somewhere they hadn't been. And I think that's what Andrew Johns' whole career has been about to date, is doing things better or doing things that others haven't tried before.
The colours of Andrew's finishing school would be the red and blue of the Newcastle Knights. Matthew had already signed with the junior program, and the Knights were sweating on the day the talented kid brother was old enough to join the crusade. They soon discovered such prodigious talent came with a powerful dash of high spirits.
Yeah, I was pretty wild, I suppose, and uncontrollable on occasions, but I think that sort of adds to why I was probably succeeded in rugby league. But I think over the past couple of years I've mellowed out a lot.
He was in the under-19s when I actually coached Andrew, so he was, being the best player, he was the leader of the group as well. And I remember on one occasion we were playing it was a Saturday game, the competition were all Saturday games, so when it was Easter, so we trained the Thursday night and we're having a light run, we're having a light run on Friday, Good Friday, so at 9 o'clock, so off they went into the night after Thursday night's training session, and Friday came and 9 o'clock rolled around and there was no one there, and I said to the manager, it was 9 o'clock, and he said, yeah, it was 9 o'clock, so at 10 past 9, quarter past 9, they started coming in dribs and drabs. Well, Andrew had taken them all out for the night on Thursday night, so he wasn't there, so I said, anyone that doesn't turn up this morning isn't going to play on Saturday. So Troy Fletcher rolled in, I could smell Troy from about 40 metres away, you know, he rolled in, and then down the hill come Andrew in his jeans and his moccasins and his good shirt. So I said, I spoke to him, I said, where have you been? He said, to the movies. And I couldn't smell anything, so I didn't know what to think. He said, I've been to the movies. And I said, well, all right. I said, you're not playing on Saturday unless you train. And he said, I'll train in this. So he trained in the jeans and the moccasins and the slip-ons and the good shirt, and he was the best trainer there. Played the house down on Saturday, and that's what he was like. He took the boys out on Thursday night for a drink. They obviously had a massive night, you know. He's got them together on Friday, and they performed again on Saturday. So that's very much Andrew Johns.
I think that the larrikin element makes him very, very popular with his peers, you know, and sometimes he gets criticised in the press through this, you know, they call it a lack of responsibility. I don't see it that way at all, you know. He's a young bloke, he's having a great time on and off the field. I don't think he's ever hurting anybody. I don't think he's bringing the game into any particular disrespect. Let him have a good time with it and let's sit back and enjoy it with him.
You know, he plays hard, he trains hard, he drinks hard, and he probably should have been born in my era. He should have played in the 80s when everyone was like that. He's a rough diamond. He probably now sees the difference between himself and the younger generation of players that have come through with the perfect diets and the perfect disciplines and all that sort of thing. And he himself understands the importance of all that. But I think also there's a little bit of a pride in himself that that he lives his life as well. I mean, he's got a lot of other interests, and he can do that around his football. And whilst football's always number one, you know, there is another Andrew Johns.
I don't try to pretend to be anybody else. What I am is what I am, and I don't hide for the fact that I like to have a good time. And you know, I don't take probably things all that too seriously, especially myself. So you know, I don't think it's really a bad thing.
Joey Johns had been tested off the bench during season 93, but had yet to win a place in the first grade starting side. The teenager's debut came in the opening game of the new season. His performance guaranteed he was there to stay.
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. It was in 94, and the last trial of the year, Matthew Robble done his knee. He was the incumbent halfback, and he was out for the year. And I got pushed up. At the time, I think I was about 19. And looking back, I thought I was ready. I was ready to take on the world, but looking back now, it was probably a big ask.
Now Andrew Johns
Sights a little hole himself. He's close. He reaches out. That's a try to Andrew Johns. Reached straight from the little halfback, and that's a good reward for a great game in his debut match for the Newcastle Knights in first grade.
I think I was lucky that I had Matthew alongside of me, and especially in those days I had a great pack in front of me. Forward pack with blokes like Paul Harrigan and Mark Sargent, Tony Butterfield, the young Adam Muir. So I had an incredible pack in front of me, so in a way they made it easy for me, if it is ever easy. But yeah, it was a great game. I ended up getting man of the match and scoring a heap of points, so it's one to remember.
Here's a chance for the Newcastle Knights. Toe forward by Andrew Johns. Can he score his second? Yes! Great try, Andrew Johns. Gee, you blokes are going to have a tough job with a Just Jeans Man of the Match award. He scores his second try of the afternoon. He's kicked 7 from 7 and a field goal.
You look at the good players, when they make their debut, it's something special. There's always a bang. His first grade game, the first time he played for Australia, everything you look at's always been top notch because he has the ability not to be overawed because he loves playing the game. He's in his element under pressure, and that's probably the difference.
Andrew, on behalf of Just Jeans, please accept the Just Jeans Man of the Match, $250 worth of clothing from Just Jeans. And Matty Rodwell said it won't go astray.
I come of it. Throw away the stubbies.
Andrew, congratulations on a magnificent game.
Thanks, mate.
He was always going to be a champion. You know, he just needed to be given a shot in first grade. When he got that shot, he just took it with both hands.
At Newcastle, the fans coined a name for the brand of football that flowed from the brothers' telepathic understanding. They called it John's Magic.
When they first started playing first grade together and reserve grade down there, they did a lot of work on their own, away from the team. Kicking, dribbling the ball, running, changing direction, running different lines to receive the pass, and all that sort of stuff that they just continually practiced. And then it started to develop in their game. They started doing these little things in the game and they started paying off, and it completely changed the whole culture of Newcastle.
I think too, all the backyard games that they played together. Matt was probably 6, Andrew 3 when they played soccer together in the first soccer side, and then they played league together. I think Matt was probably about 7 or 8. They played in the same league side, so they've always played a lot together. That you just have to have that natural instinct, I think, when you spend that much time with someone.
I think the special things, I had with Andrew were things a lot like that we would discuss, like we might be just sitting there having a bet at the TAB the day before the game, or we might be just at training, or just growing up when we're watching that video and saying we do this, do that. We discuss things and we say, I reckon this will work in a game, this is what we should do in a game. This may work, how about we do this? Yeah, let's give it a go. And then go out at the highest level, put it on and see it work. That was a really good feeling. We had certain plays that we do, and we had a great, just the understanding we had together. It was really good.
That is a miraculous try! That is beautiful! That is entertainment!
They whistled to each other, they winked to each other, they waved to each other. I mean, they weren't letting any other player from any other club know exactly what it was they were doing, but they knew what they were doing, and there was no doubt that they were always going to be dominant, and they were. And I think that opportunity, whilst it came early, was probably the making of them, because then they thought, well, if this is it, if this is the top level, then we can do it. And that sort of confidence in them sprouted wings in the next few years. I can remember that first year in Origin camp, we'd walk from the Holiday Inn at Coogee down to Coogee Oval to train. And most of the fellas had sort of walked down the footpath. These fellas had walked down the middle of the road, throwing passes in and out the cars and stepping bikes and whatever wanted to be, whatever traffic was on the road. And they'd do it all the way down, they'd do it all the way back. We'd finish training and fellas would be sitting on the bus waiting to go home, and these two would be out on the park having competitions. Who could hit the crossbar? Who could hit the upright? Who could kick it nearest to that pole? They just made games for each other the whole time. If they were in the corridor during Origin camp, they were playing cricket or soccer or a passing game. They were always in everyone's way with a football. So what you see on the field is no fluke. So I don't get astounded too much about what they do. It's what I see in preparation for that probably astounds you, and the things that they do.
I won't forget the time that Phil Gould saw firsthand the Johns boys do their artwork at Bulwark, and they were doing it's like poetry, while it's sharp and short and it's it's dynamic and it's hitting the mark, hitting blokes on the chest and organising the team with elite players from New South Wales. At the same time, it's a beautiful thing to watch. And I looked over at Gus Gould and he was in awe, and he caught my eye and he looked at me and he just shook his head. He couldn't believe the understanding between these two boys.
Andrew Johns' impact was simply breathtaking. His early statistics indicated that here was a player capable of shaking the point-scoring records and redefining the way the game was played. His brilliance was rewarded with State of Origin selection, and he was chosen for Australia's World Cup defence of '95. But raw statistics could never do justice to the one priceless ingredient he brought to both training park and playing field: an unbridled passion for life and rugby league.
It's just a game I love playing. I never treat it as a job or an occupation. And for 80 minutes every week, it's probably the most comfortable place I feel on earth. You know, that's where I've spent a lot of time in my life, playing football and out there playing with your mates. As I said, the blokes you love, you spend so much time together, they're like your family. And yeah, it's just no better place on earth, other than probably when it's 6 foot offshore at Merewether.
Joey's just so passionate, can't stop talking. We're going down for his first time for New South Wales. I've got a group of the boys in the car, I'm driving them down. Meet Gus Gould, and it's going to be great and all the rest of it. Joey's asked, dead set, 1,000 questions. So many, we had to chip him and say, Joey, that's your last question, mate, or you're out. He's just infectious, wants to know what's going on. What do we do for dinner? What do we do next? What's happening next? When do we go for a beer? And that simple, lovable rag, or just, he's just infectious type of bloke he is just wonderful. And I think people like that. People like that, the fact that, the best player in the game at the moment is just one of us.
If you are enjoying the game, things just, come oh so natural, so easy. It may look easy, but obviously there's a lot of hard work in that. And you can see when he plays the game, he smiles a lot, he yells a lot. I think that there was some referee footage the other day that was picked up on the microphone when he put up a bomb at some stage there, and there's a few yahoos in the background and that kind of stuff. And I think his brother even mentioned on the footy show, about that. He gets excited when he does something well, and that, I think that also, relates to the rest of the teammates. The teammates get a buzz off that, and they can lift their game as well. So he's certainly someone who can obviously inspire himself to do things well, but also, bring the teammates along with him.
I love the passion that he plays with. I love the fact that he gets enormous enjoyment out of what he does, because I tend to think that any success that I might have had the game came from a similar kind of feeling for the game. That's how I felt about it, so I like seeing it in somebody else.
That's the way I play. I just love playing, and if the boys score, I love better than jumping all over the boys and hugging everybody. And I think my position, being a halfback, it has to steer the side around, have to organise it. You got to be talking all the time, and I suppose it's just in my nature that I like to lead the boys around, and people who are generally close to the field probably hear some colourful language during the game, but it's pretty much all encouraging, trying to get the best out of the guys.
And the yeehaw?
Yeah, I scream and enjoy it, and as I said, when the adrenaline's pumping, I sort of, let it all hang out and just enjoy the moment, and, why not?
As an introduction to senior football, it had been a glorious honeymoon, but the storm clouds were gathering. The civil war of Super League divided the code into rival camps. The distractions of the big money bidding war for the game's best talent and the weight of expectation took a heavy toll on both fans and players. Andrew Johns felt the weight of the times.
The first half of '96 was really good for Andrew. Played rep football, got a man of the match in a couple of State of Origins. It was a really good time for him. The back half of the year, I think he was playing like he was really tired.
That is Andrew Johns like we have never seen before.
He dyed his hair red. That was probably something that people look at as the point that everything sort of turned around. But it just signalled how he was feeling at the time. He was tired. He was just wanting to do something different. Probably getting a bit sick of footy. The season before was a long year.
I think with Andrew, because of the Super League war, he probably got his representative start a little too early in his career. But like the great ones, he adapted to it very quickly. And with that came the pressure of repeat performance. With that came the pressure of people then recognising just how good he was and taking the next step for him before he was probably ready to take it. So I think for Andrew, there was a period there of catch-up, which would have frustrated him and put a lot of pressure on him.
Well, I was just struggling to handle success at such a young age, and probably other things got more important in my life. I was single at the time, so I was living with a couple of mates. So as you imagine, I get myself into a little bit of mischief, and the rugby, my football suffered, and I suppose I was, by the end of the year, I was no good to nobody, but I turned things around in '97 for sure.
You had a bit of a sabbatical at the end of the year, didn't you? How did that affect you?
Yeah, well, I got a close friend who's a surf photographer, and I suppose he could see that I was struggling with things a little bit, so I went away to the Philippines to a surfing camp, and went there for 2 weeks where there was nothing there, and just surfed for 2 weeks. See the locals there who had nothing, and just was so happy. It was probably the time when I was questioning why I did play rugby league, whether I was happy with it or not. And just getting away there and seeing people there who had nothing, but were so happy in life, that it just sort of showed me how lucky I was to have this gift and to live in Australia. And I suppose I should wake up myself and make the most of it.
Again, in sport, and it happens a lot in life, is sometimes the darkest hour, the greatest things come after it, and that led to '97. I think without '96, there wouldn't have been a '97.
The game credited with lifting rugby league from the rubble of its civil war came in the final 80 minutes of 1997. It rates as one of the code's greatest dramas, yet for a time it appeared certain its leading player would miss the performance. A punctured lung and broken ribs had seemingly written Joey Johns out of the script.
He broke 3 ribs against Parramatta the week before. Was it a fortnight before, I think? Fortnight before. And that was the concern. If it had got another whack on there, on the ribs, what sort of damage would have been done.
There were grave concerns as to whether he was actually going to play the game. We're not talking about twisted knee or something here. This is something that, when you get into problems with your lungs or internal organs or whatever, we haven't seen that too often in our game, I don't suppose.
I was quite concerned when I went to the hospital to see him, and they had the machine on him doing the breathing, but I spoke to the specialist, and he reassured me that, that it really wasn't life-threatening. I
was on a pump to pump the lung back up, and ended up getting out of hospital on the Wednesday, and then playing on the Sunday, and I don't know what happened, whether we were blessed or what happened, but Manly had beaten us 13 times previous. We weren't expected to win, but we went out there and won it against all the odds, and for me to win that game with probably my closest friend, who's also my brother, was something that's probably the highlight of my career.
The club were under a lot of financial pressure, and there was sort of a lot of talk going around that they might not be able to keep myself and Andrew. Maybe one would go, maybe both would go, and all the rest of it. So we were sort of treating it like it was our last hurrah together at club level. And so, with us being in such a great position, we sort of made an agreement that, probably not consciously, but it was a thing there that we wanted to go out on a really high note.
Nothing was really said between us, but I think deep down we thought maybe it was the last time we played together, and lucky it wasn't. It wasn't the last time we played together, but it's a special one. I still pull the video out and watch it, and still get the tingles up the spine. And as I said, to do that with your brother, it's one of the most special moments in your life.
The Eagles had beaten the Knights in 11 of their previous 15 encounters, and this game took a familiar shape. Manly converting their early scoring chances, Newcastle striving desperately to bridge the gap. With just 30 seconds remaining, the scores were locked at 16-all.
Went to dummy half, and Matthew was calling the ball for a field goal. I think there's 10 seconds to go, and as I've looked up, John Hopewadi was in marker, and I've sort of looked at him and read his body language, and his body language was saying he's going to chase Matty.
I think everybody thought he'll call for it left, and he'll probably put up one of those incredible kicks and just say, well, this is our best shot, this is our final shot. But then he ran the ball, and I think he ran from the open side to the blind side. And he's put Darren Albert into a gap, and of course Albert just ran over the line, and you could hear Newcastle screaming from the Hunter Valley.
Newcastle have won the grand final!
It was just a wonderful moment, and of course it was added to, and I got no hatred of Manly, but it was added to by the fact they beat Manly.
6 seconds to go, and Albert has scored an incredible try.
I think I said to Darren Albert, stay alive or something like that. He played the ball. So I sort of threw the dummy, took off down the short side, and it's pretty much a blur. I think I dummied to Mark Hughes on the outside, stepped back in, and then Albie went and scored it. And from then on he was all on all right. We sort of partied pretty hard after that. But not only was it a winning grand final, but it's probably one of the greatest games, you know, team-wise I've ever been involved with. And the furling was just can't describe it. I was just bubbling and just everyone was screaming and hugging each other and scratching at the ground and crying. It was just an unbelievable feeling.
It was a surreal feeling actually watching it because, you know, like I said before, you just sort of, the game was just flowing. All of a sudden Andrew picks up Darren Albert on the inside and I thought, geez, he's going to score. And as he scored, I looked up at the clock and there was like 2 seconds, 1 second all over and I thought, geez, we've won it.
Every great story's got to have a great finale, a great climax, and he provided that. Because to this day he had to kick. You know, he had to kick the football. It's last tackle, time's running out. They've done a great job to catch the opposition up. Let's go to extra time. You don't run the football from dummy half in the last minute in that instance. And the markers didn't think that he was going to. The other 11 players from Manly didn't think he was going to. I don't even think that his coach in the stand thought that he was going to run the football. And that's why Darren Albert won the game in those circumstances. It was wonderful to watch and probably sums up the way that he plays the game. You know, we all expected him to do this. He does that.
The scenes of pure jubilation that followed the victory lasted for a week as the people of Newcastle threw off their daily cares and joined their heroes for an unprecedented celebration.
Their manager's here today and I hope John Fordham's bought the contract because all of us will sign it today. We'll dob in $1 or $2 to retain the kids from Cessnock, Matthew and Andrew Johns.
Oh yeah! Yeah! Why I love you. I don't know why, but I love you.
Everybody, it seemed, plunged into the city's biggest ever party, but none more so than the mercurial number 7. When the clamour of the victory celebrations had finally subsided, one legacy of that momentous week endured. The message to all was that in Andrew Johns, rugby league had unearthed an athlete capable of redefining their love affair with the game.
He seems to read the game better than anyone else, and that's not easy to do when a lot of other good footballers out there playing who also read the game well, but Andrew just seems to maximise opportunities, I suppose is what being a good sportsman's all about. He seems to know when to the little chip over the top. He seems to know when his side's struggling, he better put the long kick in, or I better just find touch to give us that 2-minute break, or a little 30-second break maybe, because my forwards are tiring. He also knows when it's time to take it on himself, try and beat someone, maybe make a big tackle himself. He seems to know the right times to make those sorts of decisions, and I think only the great players can do that.
This was amazing, how they kept it alive.
Andrew will sit down and watch, he might sit down and watch a game on a Friday night, which would happen in the past, and he might ring me up and say, hey, did you see that kick? I reckon that'll work. I'm going to have a need bit of training and practice on a certain kick. Then he would probably in his mind go back and think, right, how am I going to use this in a game? And then he'd have the balls to go out there and do it in the game, you know, and follow it through. I wouldn't say that his skills are unparalleled because there's probably other guys in the league that can do what he does. But the other guys in the league, number one, haven't got the awareness to put on the plays when they should, and number two, probably haven't got the mental toughness to apply it to a situation.
This fellow does everything on the run and at full pace, and it's effortless and comfortable. It's very unstructured, and I think there are too many clipboards in modern sport. There are too many people giving instructions and game plans and folds and sheafs of paper. He defies all of that, and he goes out and plays what's in front of him.
He's just on a different planet as far as ability goes, and his mindset and the way he thinks about the game, the way he knows about the game, and his ability to think ahead is a key point in Andrew's game. You know, he doesn't watch the ruck at all. He watches the defensive line, and he's always playing the game 2 or 3 plays in advance of everybody else. So he's from a different planet. He's from a different footballing planet than most people.
Badiris is dummy half now. Johns on the right. Johns kicking off that outside edge, and there it is again. It's on again. John Morris has scored. Pinpoint accuracy. The corkscrew. Got to call it something. It's the corkscrew again.
Well, we've run out of superlatives. What else can we say about it?
The understanding of Andrew Johns and rugby league is that he sees it for what it is, that it's a very simple game. You know, like, we sometimes get carried away with game plans and working here and working there. Now, Andrew Johns still realises that if he's got 4 blokes outside him against 3 blokes, that's the way to go. And he also sees the simple way to achieve what he's out to do, and it's probably best illustrated in his kicking game. If you want to take an opposition by surprise over there, don't look there and don't telegraph the fact that you're going to kick there. Look that way and kick it that way, which obviously takes a lot of practice to do. So, he gets to the end product in a very simple fashion, but differently to other players.
With the Newcastle Knights, all the players expect the unexpected, but after a while you get to know which way he's going to go. And of course, Matthew Johns, his brother, had the best ability at that, where Joey would do one of those kicks where he's looking one way, go the other, and Matty would be right on it to score the try.
You watch a training session at Energy Australia Stadium, and Andrew will be setting up like 30 like short side plays and stuff like that, and he's saying to Tamana, listen Tamana, when I go to the line I'm going to look inside, and as I look inside you change the line, hit a hole and stuff like that. And so what he's doing is he tunes all these young guys in around him before the game and builds them up through a season. So Andrew plays off the top of his head, and these guys recognise the situations which he's talking about through a match. The ball might end up on the side and Big Matty Parsons might drive it forward. All of a sudden you see Andrew wrap around the ruck, come around, and he looks in at Robbie O'Davis, who's always following him on the inside. The next minute he turns it out to Manatau, who goes bursting through. And those things aren't off the top there. That's preordained. With his kicking the same, I said to Chris Anderson the other day, I honestly believe with Joey's kicking game that he's got to the point now that he preordains in certain field positions, righto, this is the kick I'm going to use. Righto, this is what I'm going to look at. His mental side of the game and his preparation is miles ahead of anybody else.
Joey's creativity is to a certain extent spontaneous, but I totally agree with his brother in the fact that he thinks it all out. And he's got weird ideas. He's bizarre. They're both bizarre, them boys. One time he come to training with a great concept. He said, I'm going to patent this tomorrow, rubber alarm clocks, because he thought every time you pick up an alarm clock, you want to throw it to the wall, it smashes. He said, if it's rubber, it's going to last. And he'd have thousands of these stories going around. So you can imagine all these banana kicks and all these things he's doing. He's thinking them. He's thinking them out before he gets out there. And, mate, it doesn't surprise me, because if you understood how much, or some of the ideas he comes up with, it's a fair call.
He does that week in, week out, and you think to yourself sometimes that was a really good play, what he did there, how he was able to run, I suppose, draw the man in front of you, but also draw the guy outside you and slip a short ball through and create space for someone else. That's probably the biggest thing, I suppose, that comparing the two games, be able to put people through space. He's got a great ability to do that as well.
I suppose we expected he was going to be good, but I don't think we expected him to be as unconventional, if you like. And I wonder whether he is unconventional. Maybe he is just setting a new rung on the ladder, a new plateau for the next person to be unconventional. I mean, he's prepared to gamble. He's prepared to do things that only confident people, very, very confident people could do. Sterling, he did a bit of that. I mean, Sterling, he ventured down this area of chance, but he didn't have the banana kick or the corkscrew. He didn't have those sort of things in his game. He didn't have much pace in his game either, I might add, but he was wonderful. But then Johns, of course, I think he's exploring a new territory.
In the making of Andrew Johns, the footballer, family genes and the gifts of his Cessnock upbringing imbued him with a natural talent destined to succeed. But that is just part of the story. For the rough gem to become the finished product, it required an unforgiving appetite for his own training regime.
It's the right where Johns is. He won't rubber. He'll look for the line for the fourth try of the game. I think he's got it. He has. And he breaks his own club record for most points in a single game for the Newcastle Knights.
Yeah, I suppose natural talent only got me so far, and I think it got me sort of to the lower grades at the Knights. But I think it doesn't matter what field, sport, any sporting field, or probably in life and business. If you're going to get to the top, then it's the extra work you put in. And if you look at every NRL club, it doesn't matter what club you go to, Parramatta or Newcastle, they'd all generally train the same, but it's what you do beyond that on your own which you get the advantages. So I put a lot of time in, extra by myself, and I think the last couple of years are showing it. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of footwork drills, A lot of passing, a lot of kicking, just to make sure in the training paddock I get it perfect. So under pressure in a game, when you're tired, when the game's on the line, it just comes second nature to you.
You see a lot of natural talent go by the wayside too, and Joey sort of wasn't, I'm not sure what age he was when he started, but he's been a player that's got better every day since. So, it's natural talent plus a lot of practice and a lot of determination too.
Yeah, I just usually come down by myself once a fortnight or when time permits, and usually just have a kick around the ball. I like to do a lot of grubber kicks to the post, just purely because it gives you something to aim at. But also in a game, if I kick towards the post with the sponsor's padding on, it can really put the opposition fullback off, and if it hits a post and comes back our way, invariably we score. So we score a lot of tries off grubber kicks, and probably because we do a lot of practice at it. But also I like to stand on the 10-metre line and just do little chips or half bombs and try to hit the crossbar, just purely for, you hear soccer players talk about getting their touch with the ball, and it's just, trying to get the weight on the ball and knowing how hard to hit the crossbar. And once you get the touch on it, then you can move back to 20 metres out and then kick it a little bit higher. You just get a feel for the ball, I suppose.
Some of that position of kicking goals is you're doing for the team as well. I think that's probably the first and foremost is you're given a responsibility to knock the goal over, give the extra 2 points, and in our case 2 points and 3 points. And to have someone of a consistent nature like himself to be able to knock them over, it's so, I think, heartening for your own teammates to know that if you do score a try, 4-pointer in rugby league, you'll get that extra 2 to take it to 6, and that can prove such a difference in the end, in the outcome. So to have the reliability of someone like that is something, the teams dream of that.
At the northern end of Energy Australia Stadium on the hillside, there's an old fellow who sits there, and every time we score in that corner, when I line up the kick, I hear him, scooter on this one, Joey. So I always give him the thumbs up, and I think I've nailed a few from there, so I might have to hunt him up. I think he owes me about a dozen, but generally there's a lot of good banter. At Campbelltown, there's one lady who, everywhere I kick, she must be, and she's always screaming at me about the size of my backside and how hairy my legs are, which generally puts me off, but it's good banter.
Johns from 31 metres out, another 2 points.
His goal kicking has become a real feature of his game. Darryl Halligan, of course, has done some work with him in the last 18 months or so. But at training, it's nothing unusual for him to put the ball 5 metres out from the try line and bend the ball from right to left through the post. So it's like a banana kick. And even as far as almost doing it from the try line. He did it in a game against Auckland last year where he basically put it 10 metres out from the try line on the sideline and bend it through the post in a game that we didn't need the kick to win the game, but Billy Harrigan, he was mesmerised and said, "Great kick, Joe." So they're things that he can do all the time.
Sensation.
I've been doing this banana kick off the ground where you sort of hit the ball and put some reverse swing on it, and we scored after the bell and the game was won. So I tried it and bet Billy $20 or something. So he still hasn't paid up. So if you're watching this, Billy, I want that $20. But he really enjoyed that kick. It's about 5 metres out from the line and end up kicking it and sort of reverse swing the ball in like a soccer player does, and lucky enough to get it over. So he was sort of pretty happy with that, Billy.
Sensation.
There's a bit of local legend around saying that you can actually kick the ball from behind the line.
Yeah, it grows every year too, that local legend. But we were at training one day and a few of the guys tried to do the banana kicks off the ground, and there was a stiff southerly blowing, so I took the ball probably about, a foot past the line and ended up bending it back. It was a fluke really that I got it, but the guys really enjoyed it, and it gets brought up a few occasions, but as I said, over the years it's grown and grown. By the time I finish, I'll be in the trotting track kicking it over.
The kick a couple of weeks back from halfway after the bell was, I've never seen anything like it, and I think the people that were here were thoroughly entertained during the course of the game, but that was just a real icing on the cake for the people that were actually at the game here, physically seeing Joey knock one over from halfway, and it effectively went dead in goal on the full, so he's kicked it about 62 metres on the flight.
Yeah, well, I've always wanted to do that actually, and this year I got my chance. We played the Melbourne Storm at home, and Scotty Hill kicked her out in the full, and the hooter went. So same sort of result as the Warriors were in front. So I thought, why not? I'll have a go at it.
He has kicked it! Andrew Johns, you are the Messiah!
Hit it beautifully. Went about 60 metres straight over, and yeah, the boys were calling me a filthy lair from then on, but I really enjoyed it.
The expectation to perform at the highest level, the responsibility of being a living treasure in a one-team, one-town, football-mad community, it all imposes enormous pressures on any athlete, even one as seemingly relaxed as Joey Johns. For refuge and peace away from the game, he looks to the ocean.
I still used to surf a lot when I was young. Then I moved to Newcastle from Cessnock when I was about 18, and from then I sort of really, try to surf as much as I could, which is probably nearly every day. So, I was lucky enough to buy a house in Merewether, and I suppose now I get to surf with a couple of the heroes from around there, Mark Richards, and I see him out there occasionally. So, it's a great spot to live.
I think it helps him relax. He gets to get away from everything. Doesn't have to think about anything besides, having fun, hanging with his mates, and just having a surf. Gets no pressure, just a bit of fun for him.
Rugby league players are put on a high pedestal. I suppose especially myself, everywhere I go people want to know about football, and I suppose want to talk to you about that. Where surfing's released from that. When I'm out in the water, they don't care if I've won grand finals or played State of Origin, they still drop in on me and that sort of stuff, and they don't talk about football. I think they understand that that's my release, and I suppose I'm just one of the boys out there, and occasionally they give me a wave or two, but not very often.
He does all right. From a boy from Cessnock, he does all right, I reckon. For a Westie, he's good. Throws some hacks in every now and again. No, he's not too bad.
I love getting out in the waves and surfing. A lot of my close friends are surfers. I've got a couple of racehorses, not very fast ones, but they're still racehorses, so I love going to the track. And another good mate of mine's a horse trainer, so I spend a bit of time over at the stables during the week, even though I've only ever rode a horse once, and that was at the State of Origin camp, where guys fell off, but I'm terrified of them, but I love putting the hard earned on them.
They're off and racing now. Good start, and getting away pretty well was Arduous King. Oh, that's outside as Arduous King. He's fourth on the outside.
We're fourth.
Let me go.
He's gaffing, look at it. Oh.
He still holds a commanding lead of about a length over Arduous King. That Curry Bulldog, they're all struggling behind him. It's Sayed in front of the 200 metre mark. Arduous King is trying hard, and so too is Zorba Dundee right down the outside. Arduous King gets the better now of Sayed, and Arduous King is going to go on and score the toppy. Arduous King first.
What about the nerves, not before a game, but before your horse races?
Yeah, right. There's more nerves there, definitely, because I suppose that's out of my hands, and it's got me hard earned riding on it, so it was a good result, that horse getting up, but too often not I'll leave that tab with nothing in my pocket, so it's a good change. There you are. You said there's no future in punting. I might quit footy actually, leave it on the track. It's pretty much what I do every day. If the waves are good, I'll go for a surf. If it's a Saturday night game, probably spend 3 or 4 hours in the tab. I just pretty much just try to maybe not even think about the game and just stay relaxed. If I think about the game too much and get tense, then I find I play the game before I get out there. So it's probably not the normal build-up for a sporting event, but I find if I don't think about too much of the game, just go about my daily routine, just stay nice and relaxed, that's the way I play best.
And curries and casseroles a lot.
At home, there's usually a core of myself, Badiris, Mark Hughes, a few other guys, Matthew Gidley, who generally go to lunch and don't even talk footy, just have a bit of a joke and enjoy each other's company. Then generally go home and the other guys have a sleep, but I struggle to sleep the day of a game, and then just get to the game, get ready to go. But even at the ground, the guys are really relaxed. My father, who sort of grew up in football and coached, comes in our shed and just can't believe it. He just can't believe how easy going and how relaxed everyone is.
He never sought the mantle of captaincy, but the responsibility of leadership and Andrew's footballing talents were always destined to meet. If the reluctant on-field leader was to fulfill his vision of how the game could be played, captaincy was a role he had to embrace.
I remember speaking to him with Michael Hagan and say, Joey, mate, you've got to do this. It's more important than just a little bit extra responsibility or for whatever reason. It's important in a lot of aspects and to the town and success of the team. And he obviously finally took it on, and it's been a wonderful move.
I didn't want the extra responsibility. Reason why my personality is pretty easy going. I sort of do things my way, and I'd have thought the extra responsibility would weigh me down, especially in Newcastle being one team town. There's a lot of responsibility goes with it, a lot of media work. Probably 18 months ago, 2 years, I wasn't that comfortable doing that sort of work. I'm a lot sort of eased up, a lot more on the media, less paranoid, I suppose. But now I've got it. I couldn't imagine playing without it. I really enjoyed the responsibility of captaining the side. I think also it's sort of made me grow up a little bit. And I remember a former coach, Warren Ryan, said to me, I can't run away from responsibility all my life. So I've taken it aboard. I really enjoy it. And I'm probably more of a leader by action than words. I don't really say too much to the guys. Maybe one-on-one I say too much, but especially at this level, at club level, maybe the younger guys will say something too, but at rep level, nothing needs to be said to the guys. They're professional enough, strong enough. Nothing I say is going to motivate them. So I just make sure that when we do train, that everything I do is the best I can. Prompt, I'm always there on time, and just try to set a good example.
I think one thing Andrew's got most surely someone to thank is Paul Harrigan. He played under Paul Harrigan for his whole career basically, and Chief's got to be one of the best leaders, on the field leaders that I've seen, and Andrew's just followed in his footsteps. From day one he's learned what a leader's all about, and Paul Harrigan's been the perfect example, and he's just followed on there, and now he, instead of doing it from prop forward, he does it at halfback with seems like the same amount of ease.
He's a leader of men whether he's got a C next to his name or not. And he's a leader of men not just because he has a great knowledge and a great ability of rugby league, just because he's a likeable bloke. Peers love him. The blokes love him.
He's always working behind his forwards or talking to his backs about what they should be doing, directing his defensive line at times when he knows they're short on the right or short on the left. Seems to communicate that very well. Knowing Andrew quite well, I know he loves a chat, but as I said, he seems to be able to take being able to talk a lot into also communicating very well, which doesn't necessarily go hand in hand.
I'm a captain who leads by example, so I know that every time I go out that they're looking to me to lead them, and that's through my actions. So if I'm playing the best I can and doing some inspirational things, maybe some big tackles or a big run when the guys are down, then I know that'll motivate them and make them to play to their best of their ability. So I just think leading up to games, when I know I'm captain, that I must set an example that then I know I'm focused, I know I'm going to play well.
Johns is with it, in traffic, then floating it out. Bailey beats Walker. Takiri takes him, gets it away from Marquardt, then away from Peden. Peden away for Johns. Joey's over again. Johns is in again.
Andrew's image is just what he does on the field. He won't stand up in front of a camera and sort of pretend to be a saint and want to push for world peace and all the rest of it. And people look at him and say, geez, he's a lovely fellow, that guy's a great guy, and that's what makes him a good captain of Australia. The thing that Andrew gives and what his teammates appreciate is that his leadership is purely on the field. What he does on the field and what he gives his teammates, and that's a huge thing. And that's a good image for the game.
The simple strategy for most teams playing the Knights was to get Johns. But in the powerfully built halfback, they found a player with an enormous appetite for the physical demands of rugby league.
He's a very tough character, as in the fact that when you need him most, he's he's tough. He ain't out there bashing blokes and scoring cheap shots. He's working hard and under pressure, and that's when a tough bloke comes out. I think what stands Andrew out most probably from his other counterparts and other halfbacks is his defence. He's as strong as anyone on the field, so it takes away one of your arrows, I suppose. As an attacking team, you like to find their weaknesses, and Newcastle don't seem to have many because their halfback can tackle.
I've seen him tackle a lot of big players, and the thing I like about it, and the example he sets to all those youngsters that are out there watching this video, is that he tackles the right way. He don't go in to maim a player at all. He goes in low, he takes their feet from the ground, and he lets the weight of the player and the momentum of the player, that he lets them destroy themselves more than anything else.
You don't tangle with Andrew Johns.
People ask me, how's it like playing against your brother, will it affect you and all that? But football's not a really personal game. Like, I don't believe it when people say, I'm going to go out there and I hate this bloke and I'm going to do that to him and that spurs them on, because I never really feel like that, and I don't think most people do. You go out there and there's body contact and all the rest of it, but it's not personal. Like, at the end of it, I've played blokes my whole career, and and I think as much of them as I do my own teammates.
I always feel that Matthew's very proud of Andrew. He's very proud of everything he does. I think maybe the fact that Matthew has succeeded too has helped. I think if Matt hadn't have done anything, had wanted to play first grade and could never do it, it would have been a lot harder for him. But the fact that he has succeeded too, and I think played alongside Andrew and really helped him along to achieve what he has probably been made a lot easier for him.
There was a time in my life that I did, I wouldn't say it was resentment, but I felt a little bit left out, probably around 96 and that, where things weren't going that well for me, and he was sort of in a state of origin. I just think, geez, you feel that little bit of jealousy, and that spurned probably a little bit of competitiveness between myself and Andrew. But as times has gone by, 12 months down the track and all the rest of it, it's really just gone by the wayside.
On the back of a flawless first half of football, Andrew Johns led the Knights to victory over Parramatta in the 2001 Grand Final. To the captain went the award of Man of the Match, and another rapturous return to Newcastle. The following season, he was chosen to lead New South Wales for the first time, and then was named Captain of Australia, leading the green and gold on a scoring spree against Great Britain. The figures support the belief he is on course to becoming the greatest points scorer in rugby league history.
He's the best I've seen. I don't go back to the greats of Churchill and Gasnier and Ray, but he's the best I've seen, and he's the best I've seen not just because of his ability, but because of the way he views our game, the way he plays our game, and the way that others will do it because of what he has done.
For Newcastle, the way that we look at ourselves and the way that we want to be looked at, I think Joey is a great example of that, and I think that we love the way that he is a larrikin, that he's a knock-around bloke, but we also just dig the fact that he's the best at his business, and he's tough. He comes from the coalfields. His dad's a coal miner and plays rugby league. It's the makings of something special. And kids at the ages of 10 to 16, they're into having idols. They really look up to people and have their favourite player or person, whether it be a movie star or whatever. Joey's the one around here, and I tell you what, you hear stories about Joe being a little bit crazy or a little bit wild, or he does this or does that. Mate, he's a wonderful role model, and will be for a long time to come.
I want him to achieve everything he possibly can, because I think his talent deserves it, and I know his family deserves it. I know his upbringing deserves it, and I know the loyalty he's shown to a lot of people into his career. He deserves, I think, when it's all over, for people to sit back and say, well, I'm sorry, it's over, and we'll never see the likes of it again.
There's a whole lot more stuff I want to do, but I'm probably not one to sort of come out and say it publicly, but deep down I've got a lot of things I still want to achieve. I want to probably first of all I want to make sure this club Newcastle stays strong and stays where it should be, and that's at the top. There's no reason why we can't do that with our structure in place now at the club. I think we've got some great administrators there now. Our coach I think is one of the greatest coaches I've been coached by. And our juniors is just so strong, so I like to think that maybe things I put in place at the training paddock and on the field make sure this club stays strong, you know, till I'm put in the pine box, I suppose. But there'll be nothing prouder for when I finish to to go to the game and see this club, you know, probably one of the best rugby league clubs in the world.
And so the journey continues for the boy from Cessnock. The boy who, blessed with his heritage and skills, stepped from one of the great cradles of the game, wondering if he could take rugby league beyond conventional wisdom to a place it had never been before. The greats believe he has done just that. The Andrew Johns legacy is that the game will never be the same again.
Growing up, I received a lot of tips and was shown a lot of drills to improve my game. A lot of these drills can be used at training with your teammates or by yourself down the park, or as I used to train down the park with my brother. A lot of these drills will put you in great stead for your footy career. Probably for me personally, being a smaller guy, it's probably important for safety first up to keep away from the big guys, but especially during the game, the forwards get really tired, which are generally the bigger guys, and evasion or sidestepping really gets you in the clear, keeps you out of trouble, and can really tear defences up. Well, the types of stepping drills I do is generally just go down the park with some witches hats. I do a skip step where I just generally stand there and catch the ball and skip to a position. Stepping just off one foot, where you sort of transfer your weight just on one foot and really try to accelerate off it. And then there's a 1-2 step where if I'm stepping off the left, I do a little step off my right to transfer all my body weight in my left foot and then really explode off the left foot. What this does is puts the defender, his momentum going the opposite way, and generally you can get around him. I remember playing Brisbane last year. I got in the clear once, only after about 10 minutes actually, and stood up Darren Lockyer with a 1-2 step, and he didn't actually get a hand on me. So to beat someone like Darren Lockyer, who is such a class player, one of the world's best, it was a great moment. And also in that game, I actually scored another try just stepping off one foot. I didn't have much momentum, and a player was coming in from one angle, and I sort of just come off my left and stepped inside him and scored. So put me in good stead that game. I scored 2 tries off it, so all the work pays off. One of the most important skills in rugby league is passing. I believe it should be the skill young players should learn first. Passing is used to see the opposition, get you on the outside of defences, put players through holes. It's very important that players work on their weak side. So not only passing, say, right to left to their strong side, but also their weak side. So get out there and enjoy your passing. And I find if you spread the hands evenly over the fat part of the ball like that, and a good start of that is just practice catching it and then adjusting it to the fat part of the ball. I find if I'm passing right to left, to put the ball in your right hip, that enables you to pass short, to pass around your body, but if you decide to pass long, instead. With the long ball, I find sit the ball on your hip, throw the left leg out around the target point, hands nice and relaxed, and then keep your body as still as possible. And when you're about to throw, twist the torso like a coil and really throw that ball out. And at the point of release, really cock your wrist to get that spin on the ball. The bottom hand is sort of just to keep the ball stable, and the top hand does all the work. So as point of release, it's the top hand that cocks and spins the ball. And when spinning the ball, it gets the ball there quicker. If you don't spin the ball, the wind really gets hold of the ball and bobbles around. So if you're passing long, I recommend to really spin the ball. The kicking game is a major part of the game these days. It's more of an attacking weapon. When defence is so structured, a good kick generally can break them up. I spend a hell lot of time out in the park by myself practicing our kicks, and our team scores a lot of tries off the kicks. Oh, that's perfect. Set up 4 hats, which is generally about 10 metres wide. This enables you to try to kick it in that area, so in a game, when you're fatigued, when you're tired, when you're under pressure, you can generally kick in that direction. When kicking, sort of tense your foot up and really having a hard ankle so you get a real good strike on the ball. And it's important that you keep your head right over the ball. If you look up, probably similar to golf, if you're not concentrating on the ball, you're going to hook it or spray it. But really stable over the ball with your hands, head over the ball and a nice hard foot, and generally you'll get finished up with the contact. Just got to go over and over it, just so you get the touch. If you're in a certain position, you can kick the ball that'll go 20 metres or 30 metres and have the sufficient hang time for your winger to get under the ball. So if you're practicing all the time, under the heat of battle, when you're tired, when you're fatigued, generally you can put it on the spot.
Johns kicking off that outside edge, and there it is again! It's on again!
Kicking for goal, I think, is all about rhythm and confidence. If you got your rhythm, then you're nice and relaxed going into a kick, and confidence is a major part of it. If you're setting up a kick and in your mind you think you can't kick it, and generally you're going to miss it. But when you're lining up, if you can actually see the ball going over in your head before you kick it, then I think 9 times out of 10 you're going to kick it.
He has kicked it!
Generally when I go and practice, I only practice the easy kicks. I don't go straight at the sideline and try to hit the hard kicks. If you go to the sideline, generally you're going to miss a lot of them. It can knock your confidence around. And I make sure that when I'm on the field, I must kick the kicks I'm supposed to kick. It's a goal. Right, when I'm kicking for goal, make sure the ball's free of any grass. Point the ball about 1 metre inside the right upright. Because I'm a right footer, the ball tends to drift a little bit from right to left. Once I'm happy there, just stand up, have a good look at the ball where I'm going to hit it with my foot, take my 5 paces back, look at the target, start slowing the breathing down, try to relax as much as possible. Then I'll take my 2.5 across, again slowing the breathing down, staying nice and relaxed, trying to visualise the ball going over, and then narrow the focus on the stitching of the ball. Couple of deep breaths, again have a look it up, then slowly move in to kick the ball, nice and slow, good contact, she's straight over. The torpedo bomber is one of the great attacking kicks. I try to nail them from about 30 to 40 metres out from the opposing try line, and on windy days, if you hit them right, they're near impossible to catch. If I was kicking straight ahead to the fullback say at 12 o'clock, think of a clock, put the ball say towards 1 o'clock and put your body towards 11 o'clock. What this does, doing this opens up the sweet spot of the ball, and as you come and hit the ball, I generally have the ball sitting on around that angle. And as you come in, make sure you hit a good strike on the ball, roughly around this area on the ball, and as you come in, just sort of skew your foot, and it pretty much hits off the side of your foot there. Hopefully you get a good contact, and bang, she torpedoes up. That's a nightmare for the fullbacks. It's pretty much trial and error. Get over the park by yourself and just generally practice. The drop kick's an essential kick in the modern game. It's used for set starts from dropouts, but more importantly, it's used for field goals. When the game's on the line, say it's a 20-all draw with 5 minutes to go, the drop kick can break it up, 1 point for a field goal, and if you kick it, I suppose you're the hero then. My head's right over the ball. I'm not too much worried about where I'm trying to kick it, but make sure I get an even strike through the ball and a good follow through, and not trying to kick the ball too hard. I find if I try to kick the ball too hard, I generally hook the ball. But that's the most important thing. Drop it, nice control, dropping the ball down, a nice even strike. But when you drop the ball, make sure the ball's standing upright, nice and straight. And if you kick it, you're the hero. If not, blame someone else. Well, the next kick is what some commentators have started calling the corkscrew. Deceives the opposition wingers, tries to bring them in field, and it's a late, flat, low banana kick, which generally catches them out. I hold the ball in the fat part of my hands, and with the ball pointing down like I'm going to grab a kick, and at the last moment I shift the ball, say at about 45 degrees like that, and bring the foot up and across the ball to make the ball spin like that, and it'll bend and banana and dip down late. All my focus is, all my eyes are looking like I'm going to dribble the ball in goal, and what this does is it brings the open side winger in, and as I said at the last moment, you do a low flat banana kick and chip it over the winger, and generally your winger's in space and scores the try. The next kick's the banana kick. People seem to get very excited by this kick. It takes a lot of practice, but once you're in a game and you get one off and you nail a banana kick, you get a lot of enjoyment from it. You can kick it out of your hands or off the ground on the tee or sand if you're kicking for goal. And I find it, if you're kicking towards the target, you point the ball straight at it, but if you want a banana kick, probably turn it around 45 degrees around that angle. And what you got to do is you're focusing kicking on this end of the ball so the ball spins that way, which will enable the ball to eventually swing that way. So if I was kicking towards the target, I'd leave the ball around 2 to 3 metres outside the target, and if I hit the ball well enough and it spins, eventually it'll curve back in and curve in. Yeah, I actually nailed one during a game, and I took it about 8 metres out. Obviously the game was won. I wouldn't do it if the game was on the line, but you know, the crowd enjoyed it, ended up kicking it. Even Billy Harrigan, the referee, got a little laugh out of it, and I think he said sensational, so thanks a lot, Billy. You've got to remember that natural talent will only get you so far. It got me to a certain point in my career until hard work and dedication took over and a hell of a lot of practice. So get out there, enjoy your footy, enjoy your kicking, and someday maybe I might play against you. If that's the case, please take it easy on me.